Well, good afternoon, everyone. And as you're taking your final seats, we'd like to get started now with this fantastic event. I'd like to welcome you all, and welcome to all of those of you who have completed a graduate degree, the friends, family, ESF President Joni Mahoney, Provost Samuel Mukasa, and Trustee William Fisher, faculty and staff. And we also welcome all of those of you who are watching this ceremony from afar. I'm Dr. Valerie Lizaitis, and I serve as the Dean of the Graduate School, and I have the pleasure of leading this ceremony today. And this is our opportunity to celebrate the accomplishments of our graduate students who have completed the requirements of the master's and PhD degrees. So as we begin, I would like to acknowledge where we stand. We have the privilege of meeting today in the ancestral lands of the Onondaga Nation, the center of the 6 nations of the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, who we honor for their many contributions, including the original philosophy and practice of environmental stewardship. Please share with me now a moment of silent reflection on this important foundation, influence, and ongoing inspiration to us all. Thank you. I now invite President Mahoney to the podium to share her greetings with everyone.
Good afternoon. Welcome to SUNY ESF for what is a wonderful celebration of all of our higher degree candidates who will soon be alum of this wonderful college. And I know that we will have an opportunity to celebrate all of the students appropriately, but I just want to congratulate you because it is a very difficult thing to work your way through a STEM college like this and to earn a master's and a PhD. So I congratulate the students. I also want to thank Dr. Lizaitis and Kim Armani, Laura Payne, Erin Ticelli, and the rest of the graduate school office for the support that you have provided to our students as they make their way through this journey. And then I want to thank you, our family members, because we know how much sacrifice goes into supporting a loved one as they make their way through this process. These students are doing work that is more important than ever. They will be those that are leading the rest of the world when it comes to solving some of our most challenging problems. And in order for them to get to this milestone today, I know that there are families who have sacrificed time and resources and just been a pillar for their students to lean on in difficult times. So for all of the families, for everything you've done to help get your loved one here today, I thank you, and then I will turn it back over for the main event.
Thank you, President Mahoney. So the students who we honor here today are about to be graduates of ESF's graduate school, the only U.S. institution of higher learning dedicated solely to the study of the environment in all its complexity, from basic and applied science to engineering, design, and planning. The graduate school at ESF advances environmental leadership through relationship by enabling graduate and professional students to create knowledge and to develop skills to improve our world. These students are mentored by the incredibly talented faculty at ESF who walk with them throughout their graduate experiences. Faculty mentors learn with their students as they teach, listening and guiding along the way, helping each person to find their distinctive contribution to improve our world. And it is now my pleasure to introduce Provost Samuel Mukasa, ESF's Chief Academic Officer, to recognize the faculty.
Thank you very much, Dean Lizaitis. Good afternoon to all of you. And to the parents, welcome to ESF. This is where your sons and daughters have been hanging out. It's truly a pleasure to have you all here today for this important ceremony as we celebrate our graduating students. However, they did not do it alone. ESF faculty create, teach, and mentor graduate students in 8 program areas, each one of them providing a unique opportunity for students to further their education with professors who are among the very best in the world in their respective fields. Characteristic of ESF, these professors are uniquely dedicated to both teaching and research. So I'd like to take a moment to express my gratitude to our dedicated faculty who have mentored the graduate students we celebrate here today. I am grateful to the faculty for your tireless efforts and unwavering support to shape the academic and professional trajectories of these graduate students who will soon be ESF alumni. So would you, members of the faculty, please rise? I hope we have more than two. Thank you all very much.
Thank you, Provost Mukasa. So today, you will hear from those faculty members, those primary advisors of these students, and we call them major professors. These are the faculty members who have worked closely with and who will tell you about the students' accomplishments. So faculty advisors have been asked to share with us all 1 minute about how each student's efforts help to improve our world. Now that's not very long, but wait till you hear what these students have done. It's amazing. So you might have heard that slogan before too, if you've paid attention to ESF things. This Improve Our World slogan is the basis of what we all are here to do. And everyone, it aptly describes what we're here to do, and we each use our unique gifts to do this. So these graduate students have spent countless hours, days, weeks, months, and even years studying the nuances of the world around us in all its complexity to help us to better understand how we can all live together with and as nature. So joining us today on the podium, President Joni Mahoney, please join us on the podium, Provost Mukasa, and Trustee William Fisher. So they will assist with hooding the doctoral candidates and congratulating all students and give them a small gift from the graduate school and a special recognition of their individual achievement from the Graduate Student Association. So, are you ready to meet these extraordinary people? Okay. Thank you. Dr. Andrea Feldposh-Parker, where is she? Thank you. All right, so the PhD candidates you see are already getting lined up, and that has to do with the fantastic staff who are helping here today. Thank you for that. So process is this. We'll have the faculty advisor will escort their students one at a time to the platform, and the PhD student will stand in front of the green ESF logo, and the major professor will go across to the far podium where they will do the introduction. Following that introduction, the major professor will come back across, and in between that time, the provost is going to pull the hood that we will be giving as a gift to the PhD students, have that ready to go, and the President Mahoney and the major professor of the student will then proceed to do the official hooding ceremony in the center space with this beautiful ESF logo right behind. After the hooding, the president and the new PhD and the major professor will pause for a photograph and then proceed through for congratulations and gifts from the Graduate School and the Graduate Student Association. So, we'll begin.
Good evening, everyone. And I just might like to add, it was so much fun cutting to the front of the line right there. Oh, that was amazing. Okay, so I would like to introduce Dr. Shumaila Bhatti, who successfully defended her dissertation titled Exploring the Digital Communication of COVID-19 Risk Perception for Collective Action. During Shumaila's time here at ESF, she has achieved many things. Not only has she been a leader and a mentor for her fellow graduate students, but she has also published her work in 3 peer-reviewed journal articles with many more under review and in progress, won multiple awards, including the Outstanding PhD Scholar in Environmental Science, and earned a handful of professional certificates to boot. Most recently, Dr. Bhatti is a guest editor for Frontiers in Communication research topic addressing environmental communication in a post-pandemic world. Shumaila has a wonderful mind and has an even bigger heart. And I wish her the best of luck going forward. And selfishly, I hope that she continues to work with me not as her mentor, but as a peer in academia. And I'm doing this also on behalf of her other co-major professor, Dr. Celia Christensen, who could not be here because she's currently in Norway. So thank you, Shumaila, so much.
So, Andrea, yes on that side, yeah. And the president takes one side and from behind her, yes. Perfect. Yes, with all 3. Okay, and be sure to do the congratulations in your gift. Thank you so much. Okay, so if we proceed to the next, and major professors, be sure to introduce yourself with your name. Yvonne, do you have 2 students? Okay, so when they come, we'll have them come right up.
Good afternoon. My name is Ivan Gitsov, and I had the pleasure and privilege to guide a wonderful graduate student to this final stage. I would like to present to you Dr. Daria Getchia, who came to us in 2017, and given the choice of different projects, she picked the most difficult one, which involved creation of materials using natural renewable resources in the form of cellulose and galvan gum. The materials that she created could help clean wastewaters, remove toxins, and use as clean water safekeepers. But moreover, these materials could be used also for biomedical applications. She is a co-author of 5 published papers and 3 in the pipeline. And she will stay with us in a role of postdoctoral fellows to continue this wonderful work in natural renewable materials. Let me congratulate Daria for the wonderful work she did.
Pause for the photograph. Come back and pause for your photo, okay? Don't want to miss this opportunity. Beautiful. Congratulations. Yes. And Dr. Gitsoff has a second PhD finishing.
Well, I don't need to introduce myself again, but it is my high honor to present to you a graduate student who was involved in a pioneering program. And the pioneering program was that he was employed by a very interesting startup company located in Lafayette, south of Syracuse. They were very generous to allow their employees to pursue higher degrees. And Chris was the experimental person to see whether we can do that. And he did that. What I can say about his research is while Daria was creating materials that can preserve and improve our world, Chris' research will help some people to see the world, because his research was on discovery of new enzymes that will cure macular degeneration for aging people. And he did that. It was a very tough journey with a lot of enzymatic discovery and plowing, but he made it. So he does not have the gown because this is corporate culture, but he fully deserves the title of Doctor of Philosophy. Congratulations, Chris.
Wonderful. Thank you. All right. Terrific. You will notice that this student has a special cord that they're wearing, and we'll hear about this in a little bit, but these students had a special role at ESF while they here is that they took on to be part of the student governance, which is really important, and so we congratulate that as well.
Good afternoon. My name's Steve Shaw. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Justin Besledy. Justin's research involved monitoring tree water use, a technique we refer to as measuring sap flow. I want to acknowledge the truly impressive and unique skill set Justin has developed. Besides needing an understanding of electronics and coding, it necessitated an ability to solder and thread hundreds of hair-thin wires to develop these sensors. Once the sensors were built, installation required drilling tiny, highly lined holes in numerous trees in the middle of the woods, often when the wind was blowing or the rain was about to come down. Justin told me he has an uncle that is a surgeon. Apparently, fine motor skills run in the family. Justin also found he had a tolerance for very large spiders. Many discoveries are unintended. Apparently, Justin's sensors, when attached to a tree, provide ideal spider habitat. If anyone's in the market for something that catches spiders, let Justin know. I also want to acknowledge Justin as someone who can truly savor the experience around him. His research site was in a lovely hemlock forest with a stream flowing down the middle of it. Justin would bring his dog Breezy on his weekly field visits, enjoy the forest across all the seasons, from snow to rain to brisk fall days, and then stop at what he deemed one of the finest sandwich shops in the world, kind of in the middle of nowhere, on his way home. It was an honor collaborating with Justin, and I'm proud of the work he's accomplished in refining sap flow measurement techniques. I look forward to watching Justin's career progress into the future.
Good afternoon. My name's Mark Teese. I'm in the chemistry department, and it's a great pleasure and honor to introduce Dr. Jackie Torkelson to you. Jackie worked with me on coral reefs and understanding how coral reefs function, and she found out that actually there's a new food on coral reefs that people hadn't talked about or hadn't thought of, and so she spent considerable amount of time in the Florida Keys learning about corals, swimming around, enjoying herself, I think, and then came back to the wintry mix of Syracuse, and did some absolutely fabulous work. She has 2 papers in review currently, and I look forward to seeing where she goes in the future. And it really has been a great honor for me to work with her, both as a teacher and as a researcher, and she has won many awards for her teaching assistantship at ESF, so I think we should all congratulate her.
So I'm Don Leopold from the Environmental Biology Department. It's my pleasure to introduce Dr. Justine Weber. Justine came to ESF with a BS in Biology and Education from Messiah College in Pennsylvania. Her contributions at ESF, she had a major role in improving our required diversity of life course. She came here with tremendous amount of high school teaching experience. Most of us are hack teachers here. We learn by doing, and we sometimes get it right, but Justine came with a really amazing skill set that she applied, and we're still using those improvements in our course. Another distinction for Justine is that she wrote a grant. Students often write grants, $500 here, $1,000 there. She received $150,000 for the grant that supported her PhD work, which I didn't have to do anything. I just watched. She's already published 1 paper from that dissertation. She studied the Houghton's goldenrod, a plant that everyone knows, I'm sure. It's 1 population in New York and about 90 in northern Michigan and adjacent Canada. And really important work that's going to really affect the management plan for this federally listed species. Justine has already received an offer to teach as a visiting assistant professor at Colgate, a highly competitive search, and we're just so pleased that this is just the beginning, I think, of a wonderful career. So congratulations, Justine.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Professor Lamir Tehran of the Environmental Studies Department. I've had no greater honor in my 7 years at this university than now when I get to introduce my great colleague, my brilliant colleague, Dr. Farzaneh Khayat. When I say brilliant, that's not hyperbolic speak. Dr. Khayat's brilliant dissertation on climate policy in New York State is already influencing climate policy in New York State. I'm a member of the state's climate initiative, and her work from her dissertation is directly influencing the next decade of energy and climate policy in this state. Not only is she a brilliant colleague, but she has a job. Since the end of last summer, she's been working as a postdoc at Loyola University in Chicago, great city, where she's doing some powerful work on environmental justice, race, inequality, and a number of associated issues. Her most recent publication literally dropped yesterday on energy inequality abroad. You're not looking at a future scholar. Once again, this is not hyperbole. I fully believe you're looking at a future head of state, energy secretary. Please take a picture. You can say, I was there.
Dear colleagues, it's my great honor and privilege to introduce Dr. Hongshuo Huang. On very rare occasions, the universe sends a graduate student of extreme talent like Hongshuo, whom I have known for approximately 7 years. I first met him when he was an undergraduate student at the Beijing University of Chemical Technology, with which SUNY ESF has an exchange program. And he got his bachelor's degrees from BUCT and ESF, and then he commenced his graduate study here. In my almost 3 decades of faculty career at SUNY, ESF, and Tufts University, I consider Hongshuo to be among the 3 most brilliant and exceptional students that I have ever encountered, and one who is gifted with an extraordinary mathematical ability. Hongshuo has a perfect academic record. He has taken very difficult and advanced courses in mathematics, numerical analysis, statistical physics at Syracuse University and ESF, and his performance has been extraordinary, outstanding. The chief emphasis of Hongshuo's doctoral work is on the mathematical modeling of physical and chemical gas absorption with the surface renewal model of mass transfer. And Hongshuo has done pioneering research work in this area. And his 2 papers have resulted in Chemical Engineering Science, which is one of the most prestigious journals in chemical engineering research. The first one is titled Transient Physical Gas Absorption in a Stirred Liquid Using the Surface Renewal Model of Mass Transfer. And then that was extended to a paper published in 2023, a rigorous surface renewal model for transient gas absorption with first-order chemical reaction in a stirred liquid. His research work will lay the foundation for the rational design of gas absorption towers and gas-liquid reactors, which are used in air pollution control. His doctoral thesis, which is entitled An Integral Theoretical View of Physical and Chemical Gas Absorption, runs to over 350 pages and is replete with hundreds of equations, is a work of great aesthetic beauty that will stand the test of time. Hongshuo has received, will be going to one of the most prestigious universities in the world, and it has been a great honor and privilege for me to have a brilliant student like this. Thank you. Congratulations, Hongshuo.
Good afternoon. I'm CJ Liu from Chemical Engineering Department It's my privilege today to introduce Dr. Wanyue Cui. Wanyue came to us also from Beijing University of Chemical Technology, and she was in one of our 3+1 programs. So she graduated with a bachelor's degree from both BUCT and ESF. She didn't feel that she had enough, so she stayed here for a couple more years. And she was working on the cell media optimization. Just in case you don't know what is cell, it's really a mammalian cell that people worked in biopharmaceutical companies. So it's a wonderful project, and she was one of the very few who worked on this topic at ESF in the department. And she has published one journal article, and one is in review, and more are to be submitted. Right? So in the works. Now, that I hope she could stay with us for a bit longer, but she feels like now she had enough, so she's literally going to drive away, said after graduation, going to Seattle. She found a job with Evotech, and she will earn more than what I can earn here at ESF. Okay, that's what I can tell you. Okay. Congratulations, Wanyue.
Good evening. I think it's still good evening, good afternoon. I'm Dr. Tom Horton. I'm in EB, Environmental Biology, and I'd like to introduce to you Andy, Dr. Andy Cortez, newly doctored Andy Cortez. Andy grew up not far from here and was aware of this college, came here for his undergraduate, graduated cum laude, high honors. We started to interact. He got interested in, of all things, mycorrhizal fungi, went and did a master's in Washington, studying mycorrhizal fungi and their effect on plant succession, which has been my field. And then he finished that, published a paper, came back and said, I want to do a PhD back at ESF. And I said, come on in, let's do it. So he's done now. Another paper is out, working down in Westchester County, old field succession and how certain trees can manipulate, no, they can't control either, influence where our trees get established. So without further ado, congratulations, Andy.
Good afternoon. I'm Gary Scott from the Department of Chemical Engineering. I'm delighted today to introduce to you Dr. Autumn Elniski. So in trying to set a record, Dr. Elniski started her ESF career in 2010 with an apparent goal of collecting one of each of the degrees that we offered. While here, she has received a BS degree in paper science and engineering, an MS degree in paper engineering, and is now receiving her PhD in bioprocess and biomaterials engineering. Under the direction of Dr. Biljana Bijanovic, who is now at the Forest Products Laboratory in Madison, Wisconsin, and myself, she has completed her dissertation entitled The Effect of Hot Water Extraction of Lignocellulosic Biomass and Recovered Lignin Addition on Fuel Pellet Properties. Oh. But like a late night commercial, just wait, there's more. Not being satisfied with only getting degrees from ESF, she is also receiving a concurrent MS degree from Syracuse University in teaching and curriculum. While at, more applause. Okay. While at ESF, she also served as one of our Joachim Fellows, supporting the work of the Syracuse Pulp and Paper Foundation, as well as teaching GNE 330 professional engineering skills for many years. Currently, she is an adjunct faculty member at Onondaga Community College, teaching general chemistry and general chemistry laboratory, as well as continuing with me as a postdoc working on a collaborative project with Purdue University, Kansas State University, and Heat Shield Incorporated, and supported by the Air Force Office of Scientific Research to develop hypersonic insulation materials. Please join me in congratulating Dr. Autumn Elniski for her many accomplishments.
Hi, I'm Dr. Jonathan Cohen from the Department of Environmental Biology, and it's my pleasure to introduce to you Dr. Cameron Fiss. So ever since Cam got his master's at the Indiana University of Pennsylvania, he's been dedicated to working with forest managers and wildlife biologists in the state of Pennsylvania on how to improve forestry to enhance biodiversity, particularly of birds, and that's what his PhD dissertation was focused on with me. His master's advisor came to me in 2018 and said, I have a big grant and I can't take PhD students at my school, but I got a guy, and how would you like to be his advisor? And so I'm really glad that I said yes. So Cam has brought so much to this program. He ran a monster field project crossing the whole state of Pennsylvania with several different crews and traveling all the time, all throughout 2018 through 2020. He published, he has a career total of 4 first author papers and 12 co-authored papers for a mere total of 16. Plus a book chapter. He worked with me during the quarantine year with some collaborators at the Swiss Ornithological Institute to publish a paper on a new approach for estimating bird abundance. And he's also received from our department the distinguished Wilford Dent's Scholarship for Excellence in the Field of Fisheries and Wildlife. He served on a department faculty search committee and also taught our mammalogy class as a TA. So very impressive career, and he's got a postdoc that he's already begun at the University of Pittsburgh. So.
Good afternoon, everyone, and now I introduce myself as Professor Valerie Luzatis, and it is my honor to introduce to you Dr. Stacy McNulty. So we celebrate today the culmination of several years of hard work and the production of her dissertation entitled Blue Lining, Assessing the Resilience of Adirondack Park, New York, using polycentricity and panarchy frameworks. So Stacy, who is one of our own, is well-loved by all, and she came to me in 2015 and said, I have an idea, I want to follow through with a PhD, and through all kinds of things, including global pandemic, raising a family, leading an international professional society, and running the Adirondack Ecological Center for ESF, she succeeded in completing this PhD. Stacy's an ecologist, and she co-directs the Adirondack Ecological Center up in the Adirondacks, the Newcomb campus of ESF on the Huntington Wildlife Forest. And she's part of our graduate program in environmental science faculty in policy planning, communication, and society. So she's added to her ecology credentials now the important credentials of policy and communications and society. So Stacy's dissertation research involved developing an amazing historical timeline of activities of Adirondack groups for more than 100 years. So this is a monster data set that allowed her to be able to assess resilience in terms of using these polycentricity and panarchy frameworks, which you'll need to ask her about at the reception. This is going to help improve sustainability decision-making, and the work that she's done for her dissertation will impact how we live sustainably, reflecting complex public and private value systems. It's been an honor to work with you, Stacy. Congratulations, and we look forward to the next version of your Improving the World.
So we were told that we have only 1 minute, but I guess I can use a little bit more time. My name is Bahram Salehi, and I have the pleasure and the honor to introduce Dr. Haifa Tamiminia. Haifa joined us. Thank you. Haifa joined us from Iran in 2019, and she has not met her mother since then. But she did great job with us. So Haifa's PhD work was about, let me read it from the book actually, to be precise. So Haifa's work is, trying to find it here. Forest above ground biomass estimation and change monitoring using multi-source remote sensing data and machine learning techniques. So what does that mean? So Haifa actually developed some AI tools and technique to monitor forest change over the entire New York State for the past 20 years. That would help stakeholders, government agencies, and others to help understand the change of forests over years and the contribution of forest changes into the carbon sequestration and climate change. That is an important component to the climate change, and that helps greatly the government and other agencies to monitor the climate change and its effect on forests. So Haifa's work is applicable not only to the New York State, but applicable to anywhere in the world with temperate forests, and hopefully in the future in tropical and boreal forests as well. So during her PhD, Haifa published about 8 papers, including 5 journal papers, one of which is cited more than 400 times in less than 2 years. So this is an outstanding achievement for a PhD student. And so Haifa has got already multiple offers. So she accepted one from St. Louis University in Missouri. She's leaving us, unfortunately, but she has promised to work with us, keep working with us, with my other students, and helping them. But more exciting, Haifa is going back to Iran and visit her mother in June. So best of luck to her.
Come back for the photo. So please join us in congratulating all of our new PhDs. So Joni, if you want to slide down your name, great. So we continue now with the recognition of our master's degrees, the students completing master's degrees. And we will follow the same procedure that the faculty advisors will come across the stage to the far podium to introduce their students, introducing themselves first. And the student will stand here now by the flowers. And after the introduction, we'll proceed through for congratulations and a gift. And so we begin with the master's candidates from the graduate program in environmental science. Congratulations.
Hello, my name is Ted Andreni. I'm in the Department of Environmental Resources Engineering, and I'm excited to introduce Amy Klinkhammer. She has come to us as a full-time employee at the Department of Environmental Conservation, and she's helping us solve a problem that concerns everyone in this room and those outside. We have water contaminants that emerge spontaneously within our drinking water supplies. And when I say spontaneously, I mean they can be there 1 hour and then gone the next and then emerge a day later. And we need a monitoring system to let us know when that occurs so we can assure that we're not ingesting those. The ones in particular are the harmful algal blooms that are emerging, and they are in our drinking water supply at times, coming from Skinny Atlas Lake. So for all of us in the room, we'll be at a reception where there's lots of great beverages to drink, including the Skinny Atlas Lake juice. And I can assure you that we have been monitoring it thanks to Amy's work. And so these emerge due to excess nutrients entering into our waterways in a warming climate, and due to the fact that we happen to be occupying lands not only of the Haudenosaunee, but that the Italians like to say the Tuscany of the United States. So we have many vineyards that are lining our hills, and we want those to continue here to provide that beauty and that income. But we want to make sure that we can find the right balance, and we're grateful to Amy for working full-time and obtaining that master's degree to help us do that. Thank you, Amy.
So just as she goes across here, and then we can stop at the end? Okay. That's okay. So, Joni, we can do that, have a slide over. Yeah, that's good. So maybe let's, so we were just, they're gonna just connect, yes.
Hi, I'm John Stella, a professor in Sustainable Resources Management and Vice President for Research at ESF. and along with my colleague, Dr. John Drake, we are very pleased to present Jordan Jessamy for Masters of Science in Environmental Science. Jordan has been at ESF in one form or another since 2015, and there is no person that exemplifies the spirit of improving our world more than Jordan. I can't read his resume to you all because it stretches to 5 pages and is not padded, but just some highlights of Jordan's time at ESF. He was awarded the SUNY Chancellor's Award, which is the highest honor at SUNY as an undergraduate student. He has also been awarded the Masters of Science Scholar in Environmental Science. And Jordan wrote a grant after he graduated with his bachelor's at ESF and with the National Science Foundation Graduate Research Fellowship Program, the highest honor and award that's awarded by the National Science Foundation nationwide. Jordan has also, service kind of runs through his veins. He has served in numerous committees, in numerous clubs and organizations, and has also served as a trustee for the Nature Conservancy, Central and Western New York chapter, has volunteered all over Syracuse with forces, with the Onondaga Earth Corps, with Habitat for Humanity, and this sort of cues us up to what his master's research is about, which my colleague John will tell you.
So working with Jordan is exciting enough that we both wanted to speak, albeit briefly. So Jordan's work merges these fields of socioeconomics, social justice, and urban forestry, and he performed his research here in the city of Syracuse and documented substantial socioeconomic disparities in the quantity and quality of forest resources across the city. He's well on his way to publishing 2 papers from his master's and has also been engaged in outreach and active communication about his results to the city of Syracuse and community groups like the Onondaga Earth Corps, and is involved in planting trees to try to address social and racial inequities here in the city of Syracuse. He's moving on to a job with Anteo, which is an environmental consulting group. So he's already improving our world here in the city of Syracuse, and will continue to do that through scholarship and his work as an environmental consultant. So congratulations, Jordan.
My name is Sherry Dan, and I'm a professor in the Department of Environmental Studies. I'm also have the honor of coordinating the Environmental Education and Interpretation Program for ESF. I'd like to have you congratulate Alyssa Ryan, who is my first graduate student here. Congratulations. Alyssa comes to us from Rochester, and also, like some of our graduate students, completed her bachelor's degree here in environmental science. She first started her master's in professional studies in fish bio with Dr. Farrell, and interestingly caught the teaching bug. And I can't take all the credit. Dr. Greg McGee, who's in the back of the room, also mentored Alyssa as she was beginning her graduate studies. She caught the teaching bug in Gen Bio, and she migrated, metamorphosed to JEEPS, Graduate Program in Environmental Science, and the topic of her capstone is Education from the Roots, exploring synergy between environmental education and Montessori early childhood education. She has brought ESF's environmental science to the most important people, the little people ages 3 to 6. So join me in congratulating Alyssa.
Hello, my name's Dr. Timothy Morin, and I'm here to introduce Connor McNichol. So Connor is graduating from the graduate program in environmental science with a Master's of Science degree. Connor reached out to me 2 years ago, interested in working in wetlands. That's all over my faculty webpage, and he grew up loving wetlands from his days fishing. And, you know, I'm really happy that I responded to his email and took him on under my wing. Connor's thesis, you may not know this, but wetlands are the largest natural source of methane, which is a powerful greenhouse gas worldwide. Methane gets formed in the soils and gets out either as bubbles or it can go through plants, but we don't really know much about the plants. And Connor's thesis was looking at those plants and looking at how are they going to change how they do this under climate change. So Connor worked out an experimental manipulation, which involved tying up an acrylic tarp over a bunch of plants. Although we learned a lot of data analysis and a lot of climate change stuff and a lot of gas chromatography and spectroscopy, I think one of the more tangible things that we learned was how to tie a proper square knot during his time here. So Connor's really done a fantastic job analyzing his data, and I think he generated a really fantastic thesis, and it was a lot of hard work, and I think it all came together really well. So thank you, and please join me in congratulating Connor.
So I'm going to provide a little bit of direction as I realize that as the master's students come up, major professor right across as you're going, Dr. Turan, to the microphone, master's students here, and after the introduction, head through the line for congratulations, and your major professor will meet you at the end.
Good afternoon again. I'm still Professor Lemire Turan of the Environmental Studies Department. I get the great pleasure to introduce my great friend, colleague, and collaborator, Mr. Jimmy Rakataval, who joined us a couple of years ago. Mr. Rakataval is a Fulbright scholar who is a professional forester by training. I wasn't Jimmy's initial advisor, and when he proposed the idea that I take over his project, I'm like, you've done international respected work in this arena. You've forgotten more about this stuff than I've learned over the last 10 years at this university. So it was a great honor. In addition to a brilliant thesis that was recently completed on environmental justice and urban forestry right here in Syracuse, a couple of my colleagues here today can attest, we've literally been on the phone all day trying to figure out how we can bring $30 to $50 million into this region. Jimmy's thesis is going to be at the epicenter of helping us understand environmental inequality in forestry. So let's make sure we get this brother some dollars for that gallant work. Yet again, our friend Jimmy is employed. He recently accepted a fellowship position with the World Wildlife Fund, where he'll be working in the capital city, Washington, D.C. Jimmy Rakataval.
Good afternoon. My name is Dr. Jill Weiss. I am in environmental studies, and I'm here to celebrate Garrett Boland. Garrett came to us with a BA in geography and minors in environment and society and architecture from SU. Here at ESF, he did something really neat, but it does happen. He shifted from an MPS to a Master's of Science in the graduate program in environmental science. He was able to do this because he found his own funding. He went out and he got awarded field study funding from the New York State Department of Environmental Conservation and the Cary Institute of Ecosystem Studies Catskill Science Collaborative. His work is a really interesting contribution to a team with pine rowers from the DEC. His thesis is monitoring and mapping informal trail networks using smartphone applications in the Catskills. This work matters to you because this kind of non-invasive hiker study will actually improve everyone's experience and let them have the experience they want to have in natural areas and all public open space, while also protecting the ecology and making sure those functions are still working. He plans to work in private lands conservation and natural resources management and planning, and he starts a new job on Tuesday. Give it up for Garrett.
Candidates in chemistry.
My name is Leanne Powers, and it is my pleasure to introduce to you Hai Wing on behalf of his advisor, Dr. Gu Lim. So, Dr. Lim would like me to tell you that Hai's research focused on the synthesis of gold and aluminum nanoparticles and the fabrication of dye-sensitized photoelectrochemical cells in order to break down complex biopolymers. Wow. So Hai was able to figure out how to depolymerize lignin. Lignin is a biopolymer that comes from nature. As everyone here knows, nature is really complicated. So that is definitely not an easy thing to do. So in other words, Hai was really successful at being able to convert biomass. We know that biomass is really eco-friendly and can be a source of maybe more renewable and sustainable fuels for our future. Hai has already published work in one paper and has another paper on the way, and he's currently working for a biotech company. So we know he'll continue to do great things there. Congratulations, Hai.
And we now welcome the master's candidates from environmental biology.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Cohen from Environmental Biology, and it's my privilege to introduce to you Jordan Elliott, getting his Master of Professional Studies. And I've been fortunate to know Jordan for several phases of his academic career. He was my advisee after he transferred to ESF as an undergraduate, and was in my senior capstone class in wildlife science. During that year, so the graduate students play an important role in that class. I have a graduate and undergrad enrollees, and they play a leadership role, but that year I only had one graduate student enroll, and so the first day I asked if there's any undergrads willing to enroll in the graduate section for an extra challenge and help out in that way, and Jordan was one of the students who immediately stepped up. And so from that day forward, he continued to impress me with his work ethic and the quality of his work. Always engaged and willing to answer questions rather than leave me hanging when I asked the class questions. And so in 2022, he became my MPS student and was a very enthusiastic and welcome part of the social and intellectual life of my lab. And so he's getting his MPS degree today, but he's also doing a concurrent Master of Public Administration degree at the Maxwell School at Syracuse University. So always wanting to challenge himself as much as possible. He's also a professional arborist. So he'll get that degree in June. So congratulations, Jordan.
Hello, I am Jackie Frere, professor in environmental biology and director of ESF's Roosevelt Wildlife Station. We have a little something to do with all the taxidermy that entertains you as you walk down the halls. I'm happy to recognize Fulbright scholar Daisy de Fatima Sanchez Mosqueda for the completion of her thesis entitled A Nationwide Connectivity Assessment for Jaguar in Peru. So Fatima took an inclusive look at the value of diverse protected areas, including large national parks, indigenous territories, and small private protected areas, to the conservation of this majestic large carnivore. And so she is improving our world by helping to keep this important carnivore in our world and seeking collaborative solutions to meeting their conservation goals. And Fatima will be returning to Peru and putting what she's learned from ESF into action. It is also my privilege to introduce Sandy Slovikoski, also from the Department of Environmental Biology, and our outstanding master's student from that department this year. So Sandy's thesis is entitled A Global Assessment of Scaling Relationships for Carnivore-Human Conflict and Leopard Density. So Sandy's work literally spanned the globe, providing the first comprehensive map of leopard population potential across their range, which spans from southern Africa to far eastern Russia, and helping to gain reliable knowledge in the drivers of human conflict, with large carnivores being one of their major threats to keeping those guys around. And Sandy will be continuing on towards a DPhil degree from the Oxford University, across the pond, as they say, and will improve our world by ensuring that these large, majestic beasts of the world thrive. Thank you, Sandy.
Hi, how you doing? My name's Stu Demont, and I'm here to introduce you to Julie Capito. And she's getting her Master of Science in Conservation Biology. And her thesis was Who Planted the Forest, working with the Lacandon Maya community of Lacanha Chansayab, Chiapas, Mexico, to quantify the role of seed dispersal agents in tropical forest succession. So essentially, she was asking the question, who is planting tropical forest? Hola, Ángel, qué gusto verte. Humans, birds, wind, bats, insects, what's going on? And this is really important for community, right? So we're working with the Lacandon Maya community, and so we need to make sure our questions are relevant to them. And they're really concerned about climate change adaptation. They're also concerned about preserving their traditional knowledge. It's really important for conservation and restoration to understand who's moving forests forward successionally. And if we lose an organism, how is that going to affect the forest? And it's really important just for science, because we don't really understand well tropical forest succession. And so Julie lived in Lacanha Chansayab for 3 months, worked directly with the Lacandon Maya community, and measuring trees and asking questions and coming up with an understanding of which species are really important for tropical forest succession and what species we need to be thinking about for restoration. For example, the toucan. And as part of her work, not only did she work on the science, but she also wrote a children's book working with the community, and it's called Toucan, Who Planted the Jungle? Toucan, ¿Quién sembró la selva, right? Yes. And so it's my great pleasure. And she's moving on. She's going to be at the DC, and then she's going to move on to work for the Planet in Chiapas, Mexico. My pleasure to introduce Julie Capito.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor and privilege to get to introduce Julia Rizzo to you all. Along with myself, Vanessa Rojas, Greg McGee, and Stacy McNulty, we co-advised Julia Rizzo. I would say one of her biggest accomplishments was being able to wrangle all 3 advisors who are on 3 different campuses, ESF campuses. So. And she also successfully defended her research on the effects of forest structure and large tree retention on bats in the Adirondacks. So she was able to spend much of her time working up in the Adirondack forest, studying these bats and their behaviors and how they forage in these different forest structures. She's passionate and self-motivated. During her time here, she was granted 5 different scholarships and grants to just give herself more work to do, and she analyzed close to 200,000 bat acoustic calls. We have the honor also of having her continue at ESF, as she will be doing more research with the Webb Scholarship at our Newcomb campus. So congratulations, Julia.
And we now welcome the master's candidates from Environmental Resources Engineering.
Hello, I'd like to welcome Abigail Jock to the stage, candidate for the master's degree. And I want to tell you again, my name is Ted Andreni, and not only am I in a certain department here, but I'm a hydrologist. And I want to just share a little bit that you've heard that we all live downstream, but that is also a paradox here. We all live upstream. And I spoke to you about water that you will drink, and now I want to talk to you about what happens after you excrete that water. So what we have done is we've worked out a system, and Abby has been looking at our local wastewater treatment plant and trying to help it improve its efficiency in managing our waste. And part of that is to dry it out so it lightens the solids. We aren't just water, we do have that solid part, and to haul it off. Those power consumption needs can come to about 30% of all the energy we use in our cities in operating our water resources infrastructure. So with Abby's work, we've come to a way where we can make that more efficient. So thank you, Abby, for that great work.
Hello, I'm still Tim Morin, and it is my pleasure to introduce Sarah King. Sarah is a master's student who has been working with me on forest carbon ecology. So what we started off with was just an idea about looking at continuous measurements of carbon, but over time we realized that a good way to stop a forest from breathing in carbon is if you deny it any water. And so what we ended up honing in on is this idea of looking at how does the uptake potential of a forest reduce with water, and how do trees respond to drought stresses, and specifically like looking at a metric we call the water use efficiency. Sarah's been developing models on how to take continuous measurements and then come up with water use efficiency, which it turns out there are a lot of wrong ways to do, and her thesis is really about looking at how do you tease out those wrong ways from the correct ones, and what are the implications of doing it right versus doing it wrong. Sarah's done a lot of great work. A lot of it ended up being in the computer lab, but we did get a chance to go out into the woods and hike around, and Sarah, I discovered, has a penchant for chasing toads through the Adirondack woods. Sarah's post-graduation plans include getting a tortoise, I believe, so we're kind of working towards that, I think. So. Join me in congratulating Sarah.
We now welcome the master's candidates from the Environmental Studies Department.
Okay, I'm back. Again, my name is Dr. Andrea Philposh-Parker, and I'm an associate professor in environmental studies. And I would like to welcome Natasha Abrol. Natasha served as my resident artist and the first NPS student who presented her capstone not as a standard presentation, but as an art installation. Her art installation titled Climate Change in Your Backyard did a wonderful job of opening the viewer's eyes to the proximity of the causes and impacts of climate change. No longer should we view it as some far-off issue impacting people in places elsewhere, but it is here, right in our backyards. Natasha also did some outstanding photography of international students at ESF, as well as wildlife mounts from the Roosevelt Wildlife Collections. I was particularly struck by the images of our students and their expressions and vulnerability on display in these images. Thank you, Natasha, for being such a strong visual communicator of the world around us. I would like to add that Natasha currently works as an urban park ranger for the New York City Parks, a job she just started a few weeks ago, I believe. Sorry, we like to hug, if you hadn't noticed. Okay, the next student that I would like to introduce is Emily Burnell. Emily is wrapping up her MPS in Environmental Studies this summer, completing her program in 1 year, whereas most students require an extra semester. So within this 1 year's whirlwind of time, Emily has completed an Environmental Leadership Certificate and has worked both as a Sustainable Materials Management Steward for Syracuse University Center for Sustainable Community Solutions, and as, I believe, the first ever horticultural assistant for the Rosamond Gifford Zoo, an area that she pioneered herself. She has been a wonderful student to have in class, and I believe that she is a wonderful future as an environmental practitioner, and thank you for spending this whirlwind of a year with us. Thank you. Okay, last one for me, I promise. Okay, I would like to introduce Katie Story, whose thesis is titled Exploring Undertold Histories in Adirondack Park, addressing some very important questions about Black, Indigenous, and people of color representation in our state and national parks. Specifically, her work addresses the questions of how the Adirondack Park identity promotes certain histories and representations of the park while minimizing BIPOC representation in popular narratives. Her work also explores new efforts to uncover and bring to light hidden and undertold stories in an attempt to tell the full story of this land in which our own institution, ESF, has such a large part. It is work such as Katie's that has such a profound effect, not only on scholarship, but in our own culture and heritage. I look forward to moving this work on to publication. Hint, hint. I would also like to note that Katie has also earned a certificate in environmental leadership while here at ESF.
And I'm going to sneak over to the other side. It is my pleasure to introduce to you Erin Otis, who has completed a Master's of Professional Studies in Environmental Studies and a Master of Public Administration at Syracuse University Maxwell School as part of the last concurrent class. His interests lie in the fields of generational value systems, conflict management and resolution, and environmental sociology, and his studies have prepared him to bring this knowledge to improve our world. And he's already doing so in a full-time job as the program manager of sustainability research in the Dynamic Sustainability Lab at Syracuse University. And in his free time, he'll find him hiking or paddling here in New York State and spending time with his fiance and family. Congratulations, Erin. And now in the dean role, now we welcome the master's students from landscape architecture.
Hello, everyone. My name is Ann Godfrey, and I'm one of the faculty members in the landscape architecture department. I will be presenting 4 of our 5 folks, 2 on behalf of 1 person not here. Our students receive a Master of Landscape Architecture, the terminal professional degree in landscape architecture. The first person is Mac Cohn. Mac has taught many of us in the Department of Landscape Architecture about inclusive design principles for multiply abled people. Many of his projects have centered on creating and articulating design standards to implement designs that are accessible to many abled audiences. This work flips the standard approach and narrative of retrofitting places for disabled people to holistically designing places to create meaningful experiences for many abled people. What I'd like to add is his major professor, Thomas Hogg, has a couple other things that I'll read here as well. Tom says, as with others in this MLA cohort, I'll remember and appreciate Mac for his contributions to my first semester teaching planting design and practice. Mac brought a level of engagement and interest that helped raise the level of production across the class. He quickly knew through several design studies in search of just the right forms, plants, and line weight articulation. And his interest in aspects of professional practice also encouraged me to bring more of my professional experiences and anecdotes to the classroom. Mac is a diligent and dependable as he is quiet and unassuming. And he's always been willing and excited to talk about his work with drawing, drones, and other aspects of his experience that he brings to landscape architecture. He's full of curiosity and a great care for all people and the environment. And these characteristics will certainly serve him well as he steps into the future. Let me introduce Sarah Beaver. I had the honor of being her major professor, and I've had the great pleasure of learning from her about the impact of craftivism and yarn bombing on transforming public spaces and public dialogues about space. Sarah created the More Love Project, which you can look up on Instagram, if you'd like, even right now, as well as a supporting website also called the More Love Project. She really lucked out with the name. So the More Love Project. This work tapped into several types of tactical urbanism, craftivism as a way to engage people in making places that need more love by asking people to place yarn bombs within those places, photograph them, and then send her a series of information about why they chose to point out those places. These yarn bombs are colorful, soft crocheted or knit objects that often stand out in the gray urban environment. Craftivism and yarn bombs, considered at times women's work, have been at times dismissed. Sarah takes that and ask people to understand how they can take a small thing and make a big statement. As of April 24th, 2023, Sarah's Instagram account has a total of 39 submissions. It's more than that now. These submissions came from 12 countries and 11 different states in the United States. Sarah gained over 1,000 followers, and there's lots of other analytics that she can tell you about. For this work, Sarah received an ASLA Upstate New York Merit Award, and I was also lucky to have Sarah as a TA in my studio this spring looking at biodiversity. She serves as the Vice President of our Landscape Architecture Honor Society, and to no surprise, is the social media coordinator for our student chapter of the ASLA. She's an accomplished crafter, an artist, and has made over 250 craft objects since 2020 and shared them all over the United States. I'm happy to say I own them. Okay, gonna hear more from me. Next, we have Sarah Constantino. I worked with Sarah closely for the last 2.5 years, and I'll tell you what we've been up to and what she's been up to. Sarah seeks to take what has normally been systematized and tightly codified modes in the area of representation and data modeling and expanded them into more accessible and inclusive methods that allow for a far greater spectrum of experiences and values to be acknowledged and recorded. This has taken Sarah into the area of deep mapping, as a way to understand ordinary and often overlooked and undervalued landscapes. These landscapes, nonetheless, provide meaningful places in the everyday lives of the people who visit them. Her capstone project was about one of these places who many of you might be familiar with, Meadowbrook Detention Basin. And she is synthesizing transdisciplinary knowledge through a deep mapping approach. This combines deep mapping methods to create a more inclusive understanding of this local landscape place. She is our MLA Olmsted Scholar for the Landscape Architecture Foundation this year. She has worked as a researcher for the Forest Climate Visualization Project with Aidan Ackerman, who serves as the co-PI on that project. This summer, she will continue work on the Biospheres Reserve Project under the supervision of Emmanuel Carter, which endeavors to build biosphere corridor between Canada and the Adirondack Park. Finally, I've been lucky to have Sarah as my graduate assistant for the production and publication of 2 books in my active landscape photography series. Her organization and Steadfast were instrumental in keeping a tight timeline for those 2 projects. Thank you. Okay, now I'm happy to present Alicia Farner. This is written on behalf of Thomas Hogg, her major professor. Thanks for this chance to help celebrate Alicia's graduation and share a few moments of reflecting on her achievements. Tom is a new faculty member at ESF, and he's enjoyed getting to know Alicia, mostly through her work, but also by the impression she has made on the department and local communities. Tom recognizes Alicia's bold voice, deep curiosity, and expansive enthusiasm. She has really taken ownership of her education and productively entangled her studies with active landscape practice. Notably, as a garden intern at the historic Hilltop House and Studio nearby Cazenovia, Alicia reimagined the gardens based on the artful and experiential influences of the original designer, Dorothy Reister. This work builds on passions of plants, ecologies, and earned national recognition from the Garden Club of America, which awarded her a scholarship from the Douglas Dockey Thomas Fellowship. Alicia also received the Upstate ASLA Honor Award for this work. Her capstone project is entitled The Case for Restoration Gravescapes, which she presented last week. This work builds on and integrates Alicia's other interest in ecological and sustainable design with her deep research and creative application of green burial notions into a landform forward process for human hugelkultur. Alicia is both personable and professional. She has a knack for communication, works well independently, and is immediately, as Thomas says, enduring. I would agree. Thank you, Alicia.
Good afternoon. I'm Aidan Ackerman, Assistant Professor of Landscape Architecture, and I'm here to introduce Jessica Mink on behalf of her major professor, Thomas Hogg. We are fortunate enough to have Jessica come to the Department of Landscape Architecture from her undergraduate experience in the Department of Environmental Resources Engineering. And she has found ingenious ways to blend that engineering and more science-informed background with the creative aspects of landscape architecture. She has interned at the LA Group and also worked as a research assistant with myself and the Department of Sustainable Resources Management, helping us craft virtual reality visualizations. And her digital and technical skill has been extremely helpful in that regard. For her capstone project, Jessie identified a space that is both common and unusual, a space that has the power to divide and connect. This particular space is the very common and ubiquitous highway underpass or roadway underpass. This particular one is kind of a model of what happens when you divide a place with infrastructure, on one side being the flourishing Salt City Market, and on the other side being the Syracuse Rescue Mission, and in between, under this, I think, train overpass, a place that belongs to none of us and all of us at the same time. And her ingenious and creative use of landscape architecture to reconnect that liminal space to the landscapes and city around it were brilliant and creative, and directly showed promise to what the city could do with this space and others like it. Jessie has a job offer from the LA group, and regardless of what happens with that, we're sure she's going to have an amazing and bright future.
And we now welcome the master's candidates from Sustainable Resource Management.
My name is Ruth Yanai. I'm here to present to you Scott Dye, who has improved my world since before he came to ESF 2 years ago, because from his research position at Buck Island Ranch in Florida, thanks to our hybrid modality of teaching, remember 2021, he could join my spring seminar class and work towards bringing his first research project towards publication. He started at ESF, or rather started by leading the summer field crew in New Hampshire. He spent the last 2 summers in New Hampshire studying multiple element limitation in northern hardwood ecosystems in the world's longest running nitrogen by phosphorus fertilization experiment in a temperate forest. His project was to follow up on pre-treatment measurements of herbaceous plants, which were collected in 2010. Were you in grade school in 2010? It's very satisfying to me to see that effort come to fruition in his analysis of how the ground flora respond to nutrient limitation. He improves the world of a field crew or lab group, not only through his creativity and enthusiasm, which I appreciated even in hybrid mode from Florida, but also through his cooking. For all these reasons, we will miss you, Scott, as you move to your next life stage with the U.S. Forest Service in Montana. Our loss will be their gain.
My name is Renee Germain, and I'm a professor with Sustainable Resources Management, and I'm also the coordinator for the forestry major at ESF, the oldest major at ESF. You see the 1911 there, that's us, forestry. So if you want a good photo op after this, you can go in front of Bray Hall. It says the College of Forestry, so it's really cool. We're here to honor B. Gartenberg, and this is pretty cool as well. He is the only Masters of Forestry person tonight, and so that's a great thing, B, that you've done. B grew up in New York City. B went to Binghamton University, where they studied Mandarin Chinese abroad in Shanghai, and graduated in 2015 with a BA degree in creative writing. Afterwards, they lived in Brooklyn and Queens. They worked at a children's bookstore in Manhattan and then worked as a children's book editor at Scholastic Incorporated for 4 years. While living in New York City, B also worked at small gardens and farms where the interest in forestry started, and took a plant science class at the New York Botanical Garden. In 2021, B moved to Ithaca and began their Masters of Forestry degree at ESF. They completed the professional internship at Minnesota DNR last summer, and B's capstone project was developing a management plan for a large parcel on Cornell University's Arnott Forest. Cornell does not have a forestry program, so they often come to us for forestry expertise. So B was critical there. We always like to help our big brother down south. B will be starting improving our world as a forester with the Finger Lakes Land Trust in Ithaca. Congratulations, B.
Go ahead, Chris.
Let me present to you that I'm here as Tristan Brown's voice double. If you don't know, Tristan has a deep baritone voice, so I'm trying. I think I come second in that regard. I am Chris Nowak, the chair of the Department of Sustainable Resources Management. And I'm here at Tristan's behest. He had family matters to take care of and could not be here today. And so he asked me to present to you Mike Goodman. Mike is graduating with a joint Master of Professional Studies in Sustainable Energy and a Master of Public Administration degree from Syracuse University, this following 2 years of intensive work at both institutions. During this time, he also completed a successful internship with Pizza Hut and Yum. I thought Tristan was saying Yum Pizza Hut, but no, Yum is a company that makes the world's greatest supply of mozzarella cheese. Both brands in which he developed a tool to determine the feasibility of installing rooftop photovoltaic panels at franchise locations. So Tristan ends, it has been a pleasure serving as Mike's major professor during his time at ESF. Congratulations, Mike.
So a final round of applause for all of our master's students. Yeah. It is now my pleasure to invite Graduate Student Association President and PhD candidate M. Christie to congratulate the graduates.
Thank you, Dean Liz. Greetings, everyone. And on behalf of the Graduate Students Association, special congratulations to all of this year's graduating class, and especially to those who took up the mantle to serve as a part of student government as members of the Graduate Student Association Senate. Graduate students are a critical component of the work and ethos of ESF as a research institution and one dedicated to addressing environmental problems of today. To ensure that students have the tools they need and the space within which to explore their very many options, we need a team that is committed to fostering the development of the student as both a researcher and as a professional. This is the importance of the graduate school. As a part of these celebrations today, on behalf of all the graduate students here, we want to recognize the dedicated team of people who over the years have advocated for the students' cause and ensured that our administrative functions were duly completed so that you all could have successfully gotten to this point to be celebrating here today. So please join me in giving a round of applause to the graduate school staff. So the Graduate Student Association would like to present small tokens of appreciation recognizing the work of the graduate school and the Office of Student Success and Engagement for working with us in successfully navigating ESF's system. We thank Ebi Ado Khalil for willingly and eagerly stepping up to the plate as the GSA's faculty advisor for 2022 to 2023 and guiding us through the very many and complex administrative systems that undergird running a successful student organization. Ebi couldn't be here today, but he sends his best wishes and congratulations to you all. We thank Laura Payne for always responding to our queries, whether in person or via email, with grace and patience. Laura is known for knowing where to look for the information we lack and need. We thank the Dean of the Graduate School, Dr. Valerie Lozades, for her continued support and strong advocacy for the interest of graduate students. Dean Lozades graciously stepped up to fill a very important gap in ESF's well-functioning when she accepted the role of interim dean of the graduate school. We have seen stark transformations with many more positive changes on the horizon under her leadership. And lastly, but by no means least, we would like to thank Dr. Kim Armani for her many years of dedicated service as the Assistant Dean of the Graduate School. In her role, Dr. Armani managed a very complex web of student-facing interactions that require a level of adaptive capacity and mental dexterity that can become easily overwhelming. For the student, Dr. Armani worked so that we could work. As she moves on to the next phase of her journey, the GSA would especially like to extend a heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Armani for her dedicated service to the graduate students at ESF. And at this point, I would like to invite Dr. Armani to the stage, as well as the other members of the graduate school, Laura and Dean Lazadis.
You don't have any hands. Thank you so much, GSA President Christie. As you just heard, today is Dr. Kim Armani's last day in retiring, and we want to thank her on behalf of all of the graduate students she has assisted throughout her career with these small tokens of our appreciation. So congratulations, Kim. And we are now for the final part of the program. Isn't this just an amazing group of people you have just met? And wow, in so many ways they have changed the world, improving our world. So please join me in congratulating them one more time. Graduates, you now join the distinguished group of ESF Graduate School alumni. The staff at the graduate school have enjoyed working with each of you. We're proud of you, and we hope that you will stay connected and engaged with ESF, creating a network of highly skilled individuals working together to understand and address environmental issues all over the world. Together, we're improving our world. And finally, I'd really like to thank the families and friends of graduates for your great support of these tremendous scholars as they pursued their dreams of completing a graduate degree. Would you all please stand to be recognized? Family, friends? There you go. Thank you. So this now concludes our program, and we ask that all the graduates please gather at the front of the room for some photos with the PhDs followed by the masters, and guests, you're welcome to join the reception, which is the reception outside there in the next room. In the next room, you will follow the people out that door, and the graduates will meet you there momentarily. Enjoy the reception. Thank you.